Hello, everybody. It's me, the Enlightened One, and we're gonna hammer the truth all out of this place. And today we're talking about near-death experiences, and I am Aaron, the Enlightened One.
I'm Craig the Gray here with you on Wrestling with the Paranormal. How you doing today, Aaron?
I'm good. Do you know what my favorite color is?
It better be gray. If you say
It
anything
is
is gray,
gray. I love gray.
I love it. I love it.
I also like blue, but I'm really drawn to gray.
I wear a lot of blue. I got a lot of blue. Won't lie, but I also like gray.
But yeah, gray shorts.
Yeah,
Anyways,
gray goes with everything. You know, it just
I
goes.
was never able to do this hammer after I do that. Like fling. Oh.
Hope you didn't hit the makeup girl.
No, she's okay.
She's all right.
She's all right. So today we're talking about near-death experiences. We're going to talk about people experiences going to heaven, and we're going to talk about people's experiences going to hell. Double hockey sticks.
Do they say that in America?
He double
Hockey's
hockey
not as popular in America. I
He
guess
double hockey sticks.
I guess it's
I think I seen it on The Simpsons one time. So
yeah, you're right. That's true.
So he double hockey sticks is a great.
I think we can say the word hell, though. I don't think our listeners are that sensitive.
I just like saying he double hockey sticks. So we're gonna start out. I'm gonna tell you my experience that I had as a teenager. Now I grew up in the church. I grew up, going to church and all that stuff. And so as a teenager, it's really hard to be cool and go to church. So what I found is I kind of did my own thing to try and be cool. And, it's hard enough being a teenager to try and be cool, right? All the social pressures and all that. So anyways, I stopped going to church and I did my own thing. And one night I had a dream that I was in hell.
Whoa.
There's the fire and there was the pitchforks and whatnot. And the funny thing is I woke up all like sweating and it's kind of what we do. It's like, oh Lord, forgive me. I want to do whatever. And then the next day it's like, oh, not nothing. Okay.
Yeah, you pray in the moment and then you get
and then you're like,
But you had real fear. You were actually like felt it.
Yeah. Well, I'm a believer today, so it all worked out.
Well, that's not so much a near-death experience as just dreaming about being in hell.
So, but it's kind of plays into it, right?
All right.
I got a joke for you.
Oh, we're already going to jokes. Okay.
We're going to jokes.
We're going to the joke section. Okay.
So there's this guy, and he's going on a nice Sunday walk, and he decides to take a shortcut across these railroad tracks. And he sees a little bridge, and he's like, "Oh, this is even better. I'm going to cut across this railroad bridge." And all of a sudden, he's near the end, but all of a sudden his legs cut in the tracks. He's right, and then all of a sudden this train starts coming, and he's freaking out. He's like, "God, let me save me, God, please." And just as the train's about to come, his leg breaks free. He jumps off onto the ground, and he's fine. And he goes, "Never mind, God, I got it myself." And that's just how we think.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I was lucky enough to have a first-hand account. I did a little bit of reporting this week. I was telling people what we're going to do the show on.
That's really cool.
It's gaining popularity amongst my friend circle. People are listening to us, so they wanted to know. And I said we're doing near-death experiences, and one of my friends, which I'm not going to name them, they asked to remain anonymous, and I'll respect that. They had a near-death experience.
Can we give them a name, a fake name?
Okay, let's call them Spock.
That's awesome. Live long and prosper.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they had a near death experience. Now, what they saw, this is what I'm gonna tell you about. It's similar to other stories. I'm sure you did some research. There's a lot of similarities between these stories, which is something we could talk about.
Yeah,
So they felt like they were going through something like a tunnel. There was all these lights flashing by. They felt
classic.
it looked like when the Star Trek on Star Trek, and he said this, right? That's why I'm calling him Spock. He said it was like in Star Trek when they hit warp speed,
Yeah,
warp speed 9, and all the stars are going, and he said it looked like that. It was like going through something where everything's moving by you super super fast, and they went down this thing, and then it all stopped, and they ended up in this super large black empty space. Okay, like a massive space that was empty. um they felt
it was
kind
black.
of, sorry,
It was
it was
black.
black though. Yes, a little bit different than other people's stories. they
Okay.
felt uh they felt like they could hear echoes, and they could hear things like flashing from their life, from their past. They could like hear things from their past, and then they also had this feeling, because I asked them what it felt like, and he said that it felt like being in a timeout box, right? And then this person came back uh, to life. So it was just this temporary thing, right? Which is often like other people's stories where you're on the brink of death and then you come back, they kind of get pulled out of it. And he said it was like being pulled back into life out of something.
So
Um,
one of the things I noticed is that a lot of people said that when they came back into their body,
mm-hmm,
it was painful.
mm-hmm,
Did he say that?
yes. He said it felt like being pulled like really forcefully
Yeah,
back
that's what
into
they said.
reality, you know?
Yeah, like they felt like they were slammed back
Like a
into their body, right?
slam, like a
And
body slam.
yes, body slammed,
Yeah.
power slammed even into their body. Uh, but they said when they left their body, it felt like just oh, it wasn't painful at all. But coming back into the body was a common occurrence that it was painful.
Did you look into any accounts, Aaron, about near death experiences this
I
week?
did, and I've done this a lot before, so I have a lot of knowledge of this already.
Oh, you had a prior interest in it?
Well, yeah, I've always loved this,
Hmm.
so yeah, it's always been intriguing to me. Um, there was one lady. She was in the hospital, and so she felt her body herself come out of her body, and so she flew through the top of the hospital, it's like floor by floor,
Whoa.
and on the roof she said she saw a pair of red tennis shoes. And so when she went through her whole experience going to heaven, seeing all these amazing things and stuff, when she got back, she told them, and they're like, "Yeah, okay, sure." She's like, "No, there's a red there's red tennis shoes on the roof. Go check." And so the doctor's like, out of curiosity, why wouldn't you want to check, right? He goes up, climbs to the top of the roof, and sure enough, there's red tennis
Wow.
shoes on the top of the roof. So it's
Whoa.
almost like a scientific proof in a way.
But that was more like an out of body experience.
Well, no, she went to heaven and had the whole experience. I'm just
But
summing up.
on her way up, as she saw, that's when she saw the
Yeah, I'm
shoes.
just summarizing the main important part because
The
it kind of
proof, yeah. That is
proved
really
that
cool, yeah.
she left her body at least.
And she remembered things about heaven or not?
Yeah, we'll go. That's another thing we'll get into.
Yeah.
Um,
Because some people seem to remember more about these experiences. Like some people, they seem to only remember fragments, right?
well, some of the people they talk about the everything is more vibrant.
Hmm.
Like it's like I guess if we have like HD TV or 4K TV. It's like that, but like everything is so much more. I don't know
Right.
what I can't even describe it. Right? They say that it's
Yeah.
like everything is just so more alive,
Okay.
and a lot of people talk about a lot of beautiful music there, and a lot of people say they see their loved ones when they get there,
Hmm.
and they see pets, and that's a very common occurrence. Is that people see are greeted when they come through that tunnel of light. They see someone that they know that greets them.
Not just Peter.
No, it's generally someone that you know.
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
actually know Peter personally.
do you know a Peter?
I do know a couple of Peters. Yeah,
See, like if
I
they
do.
get to heaven before you, they could greet you and make you feel comfortable. And
I
even
actually, I watched a TED Talks. Have you heard of Louis Brown Griggs?
no, I haven't.
So he's had two near death experiences. I think
Mhm.
from he didn't go into details, but I think from health, like I think maybe heart attacks or health reasons. Um, now he he described this thing that happened to him where he had the tunnel experience. He went through the tunnel at extreme speeds. You know, it was pure light. When he got to the other end, it was like all this light, right? And it felt like everything was like pure consciousness. And then he heard a voice, and he said that other people sometimes hear a voice as well. And the voice was kind of like the voice of somebody he knew, and it was somebody he trusted. So it was like the perfect voice to hear. Um, and the voice said, "You've been called here to listen and then be sent back because you're not doing your work." Right. And then he thought, oh, okay, so like he thought he was talking to like an angel or God. So he was like, okay, what is the work I'm supposed to do? Like what is your work? I'll go back and do your work. And but then the voice said, no, not my work. You have to go back to do your work. And then he has this, like, he's kind of a bit of not a motivational speaker, but he's a bit of a spiritual teacher now. And he has this idea that like we're all here for a specific reason and we need to like make sure we're doing our work, whatever that is, right? It might be different for different people. Um, and it was like, but his near death experience was this learning experience that really kicked into gear a different direction in his life. And now he's been like doing talks and he writes books and he's like more like, it put him in a different direction in his life. So
Yeah, that's interesting that a lot of the people, it does send them spiraling into a different direction, usually a more positive direction.
yeah.
Um, so is this some, a lot of people say, the skeptics say that it's just some sort of weird chemical that's going on in your brain when this is going on. What do you think about that?
Well, there's so many similar experiences and accounts, like a lot of things that we wrestle with here on Wrestling with the Paranormal. There's these similarities that other people have shared similar stories. I guess if you're skeptical, you could say that the brain chemicals all act on us in a similar way. So that's why we would experience similar things. But I mean, like the story you told with the lady seeing the tennis shoes on the roof, right?
Yeah.
That's a little bit of an extra proof that it's not just something happening in our brains. Um, I actually looked into what some other religions think about death. I was looking into Buddhism. Buddhism has something called the bardo, and the bardo is interesting. It's like these phases you go through when you die, because as you know, Buddhists believe in reincarnation.
Yeah.
So you're dying and you're going somewhere only for a temporary period before you get back into another body and you're
Oh,
reborn.
so they do, they go to like a waiting room, then they get back into their new body sort of thing.
Yeah, you don't instantly reincarnate.
You go through
There's
the
a whole
selection
there's
scheme.
a
Let
whole
me see
thing.
here. I don't want
And
that
part of
one.
it, like we were talking
No.
about the brain,
Grasshopper, no. Oh, a dog. I've never been a dog before, right?
something close, sort of. But I was going to mention, because you mentioned the brain, that they actually, the first stage of bardo is the mind stream withdrawing from the body. So they call it the mind stream, or the consciousness withdrawing from the body. So you're actually like leaving your, like, not just your brain, but your like entire nervous system, right? um and then the second stage is like a dream state where you go through kind of what your dreams are like. It's like that, like where you go in your dreams, you go back there when you die, you go through that as well. It's kind of like going through different rooms. You leave your body, that was like a
Yeah.
room, you go through the dream room. The next one's a meditation room, which is like where you go if you get into deep meditation. If you didn't meditate during your life, you don't actually go through this because you wouldn't recognize it. It's like you never built that room, so you don't go through that room.
Or a bathroom somewhere along, because you got to go
You don't
pee. Like,
have a body anymore, so
I gotta go.
like mentally, maybe you think you
I
have to pee.
mentally have to
If you
pee.
died having to pee,
I
do you
spiritually
still
have
have to
to pee.
pee?
I
Do you
spiritually have to pee.
spiritually have? Wow, that is a deep question. We'll leave that to the listeners. They can answer that in the in the
That's funny.
in the chat. Go ahead.
What is spiritual peeing?
And yeah, and then like they also have like peace and pristine aware. They also go somewhere like in the Buddhist idea, the Bardo. When we die, we have some visions about our life, and then we go to this place of peace and pristine awareness where everything is just clear and we actually understand everything about the universe for like this brief period of time. We're in here and we understand everything. Also, then, like you said, do you go through the selection process? Well, you actually go to the storehouse consciousness, which is where all your karma is stored, right? All from all your
You're
past
like, "Yeah, I
lives.
got enough for anything good."
And then what happens is you actually do kind of like there's a seed for your future karma, what your next life is going to be like, and that's actually where you're like going to get reborn, and it is
So,
kind of
like, if you got
somewhat
some bad
decided.
karma, you're getting something bad, right?
Could be
You're not
something
getting a
bad.
good animal.
Yeah, it's actually they consider it a blessing to be in a human body because you worked your way up to being in a human body, so you shouldn't waste your
So if
life.
you screwed that up and were a bad human, you're getting to
You're downgrading.
yeah, you're downgraded to a cat or a dog if you've been an okay person, right?
I wouldn't mind being a cat.
Well, depends, right? I'd rather be a cat or a dog, and
But I
with
mean, you could
them.
reincarnate as a housefly, and then you don't even live that long.
Yeah, that's the lowest.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're way off topic here. Um,
Where do you want to go next?
what about hell? Let's go to hell.
Oh, you want to go to hell?
Let's go. Bill and Ted Bogus Journey. They go to hell.
They do. The second one, they go to hell, and in the well, no spoilers, but you should go watch the third one if you haven't seen
I
the new
did
one.
not like that third one. It was
You didn't
bad.
like the new one? They
No.
time travel and go to hell.
Oh, it was bad.
But yeah, so we've got ideas of hell. Do you want to go through maybe the Christian idea of hell?
Well, yeah. So I was watching on YouTube, and this guy spent 26 minutes in hell.
Why he was watching one of our episodes?
Ba-dum-ba-boom.
Why do you only watch half of it?
Those are shorter episodes. It was, but then, yeah. Anyway, so this guy, he was getting ready for bed, and he was getting a glass of water, and he's just about to climb into to bed with his wife, and all of a sudden he was flung out of his body, and he landed in hell, and he was in this prison, and in this like sulfur and all this kind of it was a dungeon, and inside his jail cell were these two uh, scaly reptile demon darkness figures, and they started attacking him, and they're just hating on him, and they would pick him up and throw him against the wall, and they tear at his flesh and all that kind of stuff, and then they finally dragged him out of the jail cell, and then he was able to see a big giant cauldron of flames, like not the lake of fire, but just a giant cauldron that would be. Anyways, and he was able to see people in there, and they were screaming, and so he's having trouble breathing because sulfur is burning,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't really breathe well with sulfur. And so finally he cried out to God, and Jesus came and took him out of hell, and explained to him that the reason why he was experiencing this is so he could tell others about this, so they wouldn't go there.
Whoa. It's another
So
one of those that he went there for a purpose.
yeah, so now he goes around to different places and tells his story.
It's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, so that's like fire, torture, brimstone, sulfur, like kind of sounds like a volcano,
And
lava.
the other thing was that
Underground always, right?
yeah, and the other thing is that everyone is separated. Like in the fire, no one was talking to each other. They were just
Oh, like isolation too. Yeah.
yes, there's
Yeah.
isolation. You're not there hanging out, ruling hell with the devil kind of thing. Like I'm going to hell to rule with him. Yeah. So
Right. Yeah. I have you ever heard of I did some research on some other versions of hell too, like the Greek underground. But I was gonna ask you, have you ever heard of Dante's Inferno?
That was a great video game.
Okay, well, there's a book.
Well, it's the same idea.
So it's actually three books. It's called The Divine Comedy, and
Yeah.
it's the writer Dante, Dante Alighieri. He lived in the 1300s in Italy, and he wrote these massive books. They're huge. I started reading Inferno, but it was so long. Um, and he writes about going to hell, purgatory, and heaven. I only really read the first one, which was about hell, but he describes a lot of things that he took from like um, some Greek mythology and Roman mythology, but then also a lot of Christian ideas of hell.
Did you
So
did you
he had
play the Did you play the game?
what was the video game? Were you going to hell?
Yeah, you're going to hell. You're going through the seven circles of hell,
I never
and you see
nine.
someone. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. They've added a few over the years. But
There
yeah,
wasn't enough room for everybody. They had to add two
so
more
you have the
rings.
final boss is actually Satan himself, and you have to fight him.
Oh my god! It's called Dante's Inferno. Oh,
Yeah,
it's a video game. Oh yeah, I never even
that's
looked at
fun.
this before.
It's kind of like a God of War thing with the triangle square sort of thing.
Right? Yeah.
But
2000.
it was a fun game,
I didn't play it. No.
and you could redeem people in hell. You could pick to redeem them or or
Well,
screw them over.
we could talk about that, right? There's isn't that what purgatory is, or am I wrong? I should have done a bit more research. What is
Well,
purgatory?
purgatory is a Catholic belief, and so the
Only
idea.
Catholics.
Hmm?
Only Catholics believed in that.
Yeah, Catholic is the reason why purgatory exists is they were able to collect money from people to get their families out of purgatory. So that's
Oh,
why it was
right.
there.
It's a bit of a
So
scam.
yeah, it is a bit of scam. It still exists now in the Catholic religion, but you can't get rid of it now because then you admit that you are scamming people.
So it's an intermediate uh, state after physical death. Um, so does this mean that you don't know if you're going to go to heaven or hell yet? You're kind of in purgatory. It's like
My understanding is that purgatory is a it's a punishment for Christians that are not as good as they should be, and then they get to go to heaven eventually.
but they do eventually. So they just have to suffer for it's like temporary hell.
Yeah, it's like a boring
Okay.
heaven.
I should know this because I was raised Catholic for
Yeah.
a little bit of a time. I didn't actually get to confirmation, but I did like some of it, but I don't remember a lot.
But like, let's talk about shows like Ghost. Like
The movie
yeah, where he was kind of
pulled down
doing
by those-
the. So he
at the
he
end.
was-
Well, we're spoiling the movie from a 20-year movie.
if you haven't seen Ghost,
It's like 30 years old or something. But yeah, at the end, the bad guy gets like dragged down.
Well,
into
the
hell.
reason I bring up Ghost is because we're gonna like kind of talk about. So you have this near-death experience. You're going through the tunnel. Some people choose not to go through.
Oh, and they just pull themselves back to life.
Yeah, like you hear that people that say you have to enter the light, and the people are like they don't. They got all. We're talking about like maybe this unfinished business.
Oh, okay, here we go. So now we're getting into like maybe this is where ghosts come from.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah. So that's that. Remember we were going to talk about this last week. We said that.
So at the start of the movie Ghost, when he dies, is that what happens to him? He starts going towards the light, but then he gets stuck.
I don't remember that part.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in so long.
But yeah, I think.
Well, yeah, that is an interesting idea. Like some people think ghosts are just people.
Well, he was murdered, right?
He was murdered, and he does like the whole story is him solving his own murder and like getting the evidence to his wife or girlfriend so that she can incriminate the bad guys, right? So it's like a ghost detective kind of revenge story.
And I feel like a lot of the real ghost thing they want justice. They want
a sense of peace.
Yeah, they want closure.
Yeah.
And I don't think like a lot of times the spirits that are here they're not able to move on to the next part of their um, existence. There's an unsolved mystery uh, um, from Japan when the big tsunami hit, and so many people died.
Hmm.
Oh, was this Japan or some? Anyways, so there's this one lady. She has this gift where she can see dead people, and some of the people that were in the tsunami, they don't know they're dead. So
Right.
she sees them, and they're coming up to her car, and they're tapping on her window, and she has to roll them down her window. Yeah, guys, you're dead. You guys have.
Tell them. Yeah.
Yeah, she has to tell them so, which is
Well, that's spoiler alert for The Sixth Sense, but that's also what that movie's about. And if you haven't seen The Sixth Sense,
it's
what
a
are you
great
doing with
movie.
your life? If you haven't seen Ghost, you haven't seen The Sixth Sense, I don't know what's wrong with you,
Yeah.
you know. But
So, do you think that that's what's going on? That they just haven't entered the light?
it could be. I mean, the only other thing is like, do you think that um you die and like part of you goes to heaven or hell, but then there's a like some kind of impression of you that actually stays on the earth as like some kind of weird impression that like can haunt people or can just like, um because some people say they see the ghost of their loved ones once in a while, but I think they also want those people to be in heaven. So it's like, I don't know. It's confusing, but
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's a tough one because you almost wonder if is it the energy thing going on again as well. It could just be that. But near death experiences, uh, there's this one where this little boy. It's a movie that they just made. What's it called? I forget. Anyways, there's another one called 7 Minutes in Heaven, and is this pastor, and he's coming back from a church event, and so he's coming back, and he gets in his car crash, and so he the people from the church, they were coming, and they saw, oh no, it's our pastor or whatever from the church, and then so they were coming, and so he left his body and went to heaven, and just had this amazing experience, and saw his loved ones and all that kind of stuff. And this is a book I read a very long time ago, um, and just like everyone, so vibrant, saw loved ones, he saw, it was really cool. But so some of the people in the car crash, they performed a miracle, and he wrestled with this later. So they prayed over him, and they were singing, I think, Amazing Grace or something. And so we talk about the crash back into your body. So they crashed him back into a mangled body.
right.
So he was paralyzed. So imagine that you're in bliss in heaven, having this amazing experience for 7 minutes, seeing, like, I guess it would last longer, right? But and then you go back and you've landed in this mangled body and have to go through this torture of having to figure out how to work your broken body.
But I'm sure at some point he found purpose in his life again and
He did.
moved on. Yeah.
He did, and like it wasn't easy. Like a lot of people they just go back to their body and carry on the road. But he has to go through this torturous
Hmm.
path where he's got to figure out how to work his body, and he's not happy, right? Because he's like, I wanted to be up there. Like, why would you want to be here and when you could have been up there?
Though
So
that, I mean, that's an interesting concept, right? Like, if you truly believe that heaven is this amazing place,
yeah,
right? Why are we still on Earth? That's why I like that one guy's talking about going up there, and the voice told him that you have to go back to finish your work. That like maybe we all each have a purpose here, right? And that's the reason we're here. Um,
Okay, so when I was three years old, I had this profound experience.
okay,
So I was sick in my bed. I was kind of delirious. I was even seeing ice skaters on my ceiling,
right,
and but I had this profound thought that this life is just a test,
hmm.
and I really, to this day, I still believe that this is like, think about how long a life is.
Yeah,
We're only here for a very, very short time, and eternity is forever. So um, live your life and live it well. Do your best to make things better wherever you go.
I often think that it's like we're here to learn something, like our spirit learns something, like a test is a good way to put it, but like that earth is like this school almost where we have to learn about something to help us move along as spirits, like to grow. And like the only place to really learn it is on earth in a body. So that's why you have
Yeah,
to be in a body, you have to feel pain, you have to, experience what it's like to be in a body. And it's just like something that we all go through. Um, you know,
and I
and
think
we all
that
and we have different experiences, but I think all those experiences are at the end of the day, like in the grander picture, every
yeah,
life is valid, whether because some people think like, oh, I need to get rich and famous or make so much money or have a big family or all this stuff. But yeah, those things are all great, but really you can do anything in this planet and you are
yeah.
learning. Like you're learning no matter what you do, you're learning something. So
Well, I think that you spoke about something interesting there. Is that we have to go through all these hardships in these broken down bodies.
mhm.
Not always broken down, but we're not perfect. And so the idea that God became flesh and had to do it too,
Mhm.
it makes him more relatable, right?
Yeah.
So he had to do what we had to do. So I think that that's the only way that we can actually be on the same wavelength, understanding, not understanding him, but getting him more.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll
And
ever
it
get
does
that.
seem like a lot of people have a kind of crisis of faith or a crisis of believing in things while they're on their time in earth, and like maybe that's something you need to come to grips to with, is like, your brain has doubt or like has like a lack of faith sometimes, and like a lot of people struggle with that, right? And then you just have to like come to terms with that through your process of life, right?
And a lot of times it ends up being the near death experience
Hmm.
that puts them right. I've heard so many times they're like, I was floundering. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, there was this guy who's an atheist. He's like, I didn't even believe in God. And he's like, I saw my mom afterwards and she was washing herself. And I took it that she wanted me to clean up my life. And that's what he did. He stopped drinking and started doing things for God.
Okay, I also researched, to change the topic a little bit, the Greek idea. I used to love ancient Greece when I was a kid. I was fascinated by Greek mythology, and I like studied Greek in school. Not the language, but just like the history and some of the Greek mythology in ancient Greece and stuff. So they have some interesting ideas about the underworld. Now they don't actually believe there's like, well, there's kind of a heaven and hell, but not really. They kind of just believe in one big underworld. It's just like where you go after death. They did believe it was under the ground. There was
Well, yeah,
rivers.
you can't get to heaven, right? It's just that everyone goes to hell.
Well, there's Elysium. So, like, you've heard of Elysium, like the fields of
Mhm.
Elysium, but it's reserved for heroes and demigods. So, as a human being, you would have to be so amazing that you actually become a hero.
So
Like,
like me.
maybe. But like, like examples would be like the people who fought in like the Trojan War, right? Like
Yeah,
Odysseus and like uh Achilles, right? Like those famous Greek heroes.
yeah. Not
they
even
would
a
they would
regular,
go.
not even a regular soldier. He's not
No,
getting. He's
no,
not getting up
they don't
there.
get in. Everybody else just goes to the underworld. But the
Just
underworld
drop.
wasn't necessarily. It wasn't like hell. It wasn't like necessarily about like suffering and things. So they had rivers that were the
Yeah, the river
border
Styx,
between.
right?
Yeah, so Styx is the border between Earth and Hell. They had a boatman, Karen, who you had to pay to get across the river. There were
Wait,
other
wait,
rivers
wait.
though
What are you
too.
paying with?
So it was tradition to put 2 coins on people's eyes when they
Yeah,
died. You've
but.
seen that, right?
Oh, so you get that to take that with you.
You get a spirit version because the eyes are the windows to the spirit. Okay, there's a whole
Okay,
philosophy
okay,
behind this.
okay.
When people put coins on your eyes when you die, you actually get spirit versions of those
But
coins.
if
So
they don't
you
put the coins there, you're screwed.
got no money. You can't gotta try to bum a ride or something.
It's like, hey, everyone's only got two, so
You actually get stuck if you don't put the coins on their eyes. That you actually get stuck on the riverbanks of Styx, and it's kind of like a purgatory. Like you're just stuck
yeah.
there.
So it's
It's
also
like
like,
limbo.
so I think maybe the Catholics stole this from the Greeks.
It's similar,
Like,
yeah.
hey,
Well,
maybe
you
some
have
money
to do
off
it very
this.
specific. Yeah, because maybe the priest just took all the money after, or
Well, no,
whoever. Like,
the idea was they even had a saying in the Catholic thing: when a coin rings, a spirit springs.
right,
So they had like you
right
were
out
able
of
to,
purgatory.
yeah, you like
Boom,
you want your Uncle Bob out of purgatory? 50
boom.
bucks. 50 bucks.
But yeah, so and then there's also, of course, the famous three-headed dog, Cerberus, sorry, who guards hell. Um, Hades is their god of hell, so he kind of is in charge of everything. He's Zeus's brother, right? And then yeah, I mean they and then there's all these legends about like there was a hero whose like wife goes down to hell and he wants to see her one last time, so he like makes some kind of deal and goes down there, but then when he's leaving he's not allowed to look back, and if he turns back then he goes to the underworld, and of course he turns back to see her one more time and then he ends up trapped in the underworld. They had a lot of like stories like that had the underworld as part of their mythology. So it's interesting. Oh, and then um there's the river Styx, and for some reason it also, if a mortal was, so the Achilles' mom held him up by his ankles and dipped him in the river Styx, which actually gave him some kind of protection for some reason. It made him immortal. I don't know how that works. But everything but, because she was holding by the ankle, everything but his heel and his ankle were protected, right? So that's why Achilles' heel is like somebody's weakness, is because, and he dies that way. He gets an arrow goes through his heel, and that's how he dies. It's like a poisoned arrow or something, because it's his only weakness. He was like immortal because he was dipped in the river Styx. I don't know why, but that's. And then there was another river called Lethe, which actually some spirits, when they went to the underworld, they would get bathed in the river Lethe, and it was the river for forgetfulness, and you would completely forget your life. So you'd be in the underworld with no memory of what your life was when you were alive. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a curse or what. Depends, I guess, on your life.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Um, so what do we think? Do we think so these we believe that the near death experience people have and they're legit. You think so? We wrestled with it, one, two, three.
We've wrestled with it. I mean, there's similar stories. I'm not going to tell somebody that their story isn't real, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and something's going on.
So are you tapping? Are you one, two, three, tapping these
Something
things?
happening. There's near death experiences. Yes, absolutely.
So you,
I mean, the reason too that I definitely believe people's stories is, I think I mentioned this on the show before, but when I was a teenager, I had sleep paralysis.
yeah.
And one time I had a bit of an out of body experience. I started coming out of my body, right? And I was like floating in the air, and I got like close to the ceiling, and then I turned around. And sleep paralysis happens when you're falling asleep, but you don't quite get to sleep. You're like in this weird middle.
That's not sleep. So that's not sleep paralysis. It's
It
definitely not.
is. No, it is. Okay, here's the thing.
No, what happened to you was not sleep paralysis.
No, it
Like,
wasn't. But here's the
no.
thing. It's called sleep paralysis because it happens when you're falling asleep. There's certain things that happen when you're falling asleep, right? But your consciousness doesn't actually go into sleep, so you're actually aware of what's happening, right? Like there's a
So
your
did
body.
you look down and see your body?
I did. Now, the reason I was anchored, my spirit was like anchored because, and this is kind of funny, my cat was sleeping on my stomach, and my cat had
Interesting.
anchored my spirit into my body because
That is
my
interesting.
spirit wouldn't get past my cat's spirit.
So
Interesting.
this could be evidence that cats have spirits.
Cats also have spirits.
Yes.
Yes, it's true.
So your cat saved you from
I might have
having
I might have floated away.
you might have had your own near death experience, and that would have been giving us better ratings.
It would have. I know. I'm sorry. But that's another question too. Can you have an out of body experience and just completely leave your body and then you don't return? You would
Well,
just be in
that's
a
called dying.
coma? Like maybe you'd just be in a coma? I guess you'd
That's,
die, but like
yeah, that's this is you
can
leave
the
your
body live without the spirit?
no.
What about a coma?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're in your body still.
Okay.
So yeah, that you would have died if you didn't. You went away and didn't come back.
I might have
So
died.
your cat saved your life.
There you go.
What was your
Oh,
cat's name?
at that time I was living with a cat named Zero.
His Zero saved your life.
Yeah.
That's funny. His name is Zero, and he saved your life. He weighed 0 pounds, and he saved you. That's cool.
Do we have any other stories? You got anything else?
I got lots, but I think we got it all. We got like guys like the Undertaker.
Oh
Always,
yeah.
yeah, it's like the
Paul Bear.
example. Paul Bear
Amazing
died.
manager.
Paul
Amazing
Bear
manager.
died.
Paul Bear died. When did that happen?
He died a few years ago. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember somebody telling me that. Yeah, I knew
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
My favorite, do you remember when Undertaker had his whole thing with Stone Cold Steve Austin and he knocks him out and drags him out the ring and into this, like it was like one of those, what do they call it when they do something off stage? They went off into this room where him and Paul Bear were starting to prepare him for when they open up a body and then fill it with formaldehyde.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So they started drawing on his body and they put stuff on him and they were gonna cut him open, but then Kane comes in and like hits the Undertaker and then
Well,
Stone
that
Cold
was
gets
nice
up.
of him not to kill him first, because oh man.
I love
Uh,
those kind of things. I love when they went off the stage and they went somewhere else and started doing something. It was cool. Yeah.
uh, let's talk about it. We have Bray Wyatt. The Fiend was released from WWE today. We don't know what the heck they're doing. They're releasing top superstar after top superstar. Uh, it seems like they are getting ready to sell,
Whoa. Are
and
you
seems like
serious?
yeah, it looks like they are trying to sell to possibly Disney.
Whoa. That's huge, man.
So I don't know why they're unloading some of their top talent, because why doesn't Disney want the top talent? So who knows?
Well, maybe
Um,
they think they can sell some talent, because they get money out of those deals and then still get a good big deal when they sell to Disney or whoever buys them, right?
well, I guess numbers wise, they're making more money if they're not paying someone, right? So
That too. Well, yeah, absolutely. So they end up making money somehow. Yeah.
yeah, um,
Crazy.
so we have tomorrow on our podcast, just another effing podcast. We are talking top 5 video games each. So we got our friend Kyle Prescott from AEW Games, and he's going to be coming in talking about AEW games. They have their new AEW video game coming out soon. They've spent millions on this game,
Oh, wow.
and they're going to deliver a top-notch wrestling game. Like some companies, they put out a wrestling game every year.
Kind of like hockey and other sports. They want it to be
Yeah.
like a sports game. Yeah.
So this game is almost 3 years in the making to come out with this
Whoa.
game,
Whoa.
and it's going to be top level when you put 3 years into it.
That's exciting.
So we're going to be talking about our top 15, 5 each, favorite video games tomorrow. Did you ever play? I'm spoiler alert. One of my top picks. Did you ever play the Main Event arcade game?
The Main Event arcade. Is
It's
that the
called the Main Event.
old school one? Is it
It's
really
around.
old?
It's around.
I remember playing the WrestleMania one.
Superstars. Do you remember Superstars?
Superstars, yeah.
Yeah.
Superstars.
Yeah. This is kind of like this, but it didn't have any real guys. It had made up guys. And
Oh, it was just like a made up video game thing.
yeah, but it was still really cool. Like, yeah. So that's one of my favorites. That
I won't be on the show tomorrow, but my favorite video game was Royal Rumble, which was for Super Nintendo. Pretty sure, or was it? Yeah, it was Super Nintendo.
It was for Genesis as well.
But it was. I remember it on Super Nintendo because I remember the top button. You know how that was Super Nintendo was the first controller I remember where that had the top buttons, right? Like L and R.
Yeah.
And that was how you threw a guy out of the ring. If somebody threw him at you and he was running, or he came off the turn or the ropes, then you had to push the right top button, and then your guy would just toss him over the edge.
So this is a little bit of a preview for tomorrow's show. That's your pick. So we're going to talk about that. And our website is up and running.
Check it out.
wrestling.com. That's huge for us to get that going. Visit us at All Left Wrestling on Twitter. But just you can get if you go to fnwrestling.com, you can go to any of our social medias from there, and we got stories and all that kind of stuff going on. So it's really exciting. We got our T-shirts from Pro Wrestling Tees. We got Adrian Adonis's T-shirts that we're selling. So everything is on the up and up. So it's all really exciting.
Awesome. Yeah, buy some shirts, watch some old episodes, check it out.
So I think that wraps it up here. It's
been a pleasure. Until next time, everybody. Keep on
wrestling
with the paranormal.
we can't get it on the same sync.
We tried.